First up, we have my sister, I always say this to my poor husband that she was my original partner in life. I always say this. So Kutlwano and I started Rainbow Conscious Creatives many years ago. We have been through many trenches together, not just as sisters and friends, but as business owners as well. And Kutlwano lives in Soweto, so she directly experienced the protests and the riots. And so she's going to give us 5 minutes of her time to tell us her story and what all of this has meant for her. Over to you, Kutlwano.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to first thank each and every person's guides, each and every person's ancestor from across the world. Thank you for them providing the space for us and providing this time and this contrast that we're experiencing right now, because we are learning that when contrast comes, creativity is pushed and we need to find solutions. So as Trule introduced, my name is Kutlwano Mabusela and I'm the other half of Brainbow Conscious Creatives. And last week, as the world and our country as well woke up to unrest, what I will call it, because there are many names that people give what happened last week. And we saw the destruction of a lot of property and a lot of businesses. I was awakened Monday morning, literally after midnight, by people trying to break into a store in the street where I live. It was a little bit chaotic because they were trying to set it on fire. And my community all came out on the streets, and chased these young men down the road. And I felt so conflicted when this was happening, because at the time, I think in Gauteng, we weren't realizing that the unrest and the protest and the action was coming our way as a province. And when it started to happen, and people in Soweto where I live, especially in my particular neighborhood, came out, they then brought the two young men, very young. When I say young, people looked around the ages of 20. And then started to beat them up, for lack of a better term. And I felt so conflicted because I looked at that young man and I thought to myself, this is someone's child and this is someone's brother, this is my brother. And it made me think of, as Tule put it, the unseen things and the unheard things, and how the thing that is ignored is the one that rots, that festers, that smells. And for the whole week last week, it felt as if South Africa was finally smelling the stench of inequality in our country, and we couldn't stand how it smelled. And one of the things that came up into my spirit immediately was shame and privilege. I remember saying to a neighbor that, hey, at least we have yards that we can chase people into and catch. There are people who are landless, there are people who have no yards, there are people who have no housing. And immediately the guilt started to set in. And what am I going to do with the privilege that I have? And one of the things that came out that I had to deal with is shame. And I think a lot of South Africans felt the same way. You could feel it on social media. A lot of shame started to come up into people's hearts. And one thing that I'm learning about shame is that once it is kept secret, it then festers. And so what I vouch to do as a storyteller, as someone who believes in the power of story, is to tell these stories of inequality and the people who don't get the same slice of the cake in my country that I get. And so as Brainbow, we are not only doing these kind of events to kind of help fundraise and be actively fundraising for businesses and people who are like us, who are struggling just in terms of their headspace, their mindsets as well. But we're also embarking on a storytelling journey via a documentary about what it takes to be not just a small business in South Africa, but what it takes to try and employ the young, to try and give people a sense of dignity and job opportunities in this country. And what does it take, and what are the barriers, and what are the barriers to access, and what are also the joys about opening a business and leaving a legacy for your family. And so Bonanani is the introduction to that, to say, let's see each other And as Brainbow, we're choosing to see the small business owner in their small little ways and leave a legacy for their families.
Thank you so much, Kutlwano. You know, when you called me on Sunday, telling me about what had happened, I felt the same paralysis. You know, I went into what I now understand to be grieving. You know, grieving the country that I once knew and the current state of it, and knowing that we would never be, you know, the same again. And already we're on the edge as people in terms of mental health, as it is. And this has just pushed us over the edge in terms of, you know, our mental hygiene, our mental well-being, our mental fitness, as well on a spiritual and emotional level. So our